Welcome back to our channel, World Coins History. As you knew that old is gold, but these top 5 rare coins that are most valuable than you think, don't spend one of them, so please watch complete video and find your treasure. Let's start this. Top 1. Today, we're diving deep into one of the most fascinating modern coins in US history, the 2000 P Sacagawea $1 coin. We're taking you on a journey into what might seem like just another golden dollar, but it turns out there's a lot more to this coin than meets the eye. If you've ever held one of these in your hand or found one at the bottom of your coin jar, this is a video you'll want to pay close attention to, because your coin might be worth far more than a single dollar. The Sacagawea dollar was first released in the year 2000 to replace the unpopular Susan B. Anthony dollar. The new design was a refreshing change, featuring Sacagawea, the Shoshone woman who played a key role in the famous Lewis and Clark expedition, carrying her infant son, Jean-Baptiste. Her gaze is calm, strong, and determined, a tribute to Native American heritage and American history. The reverse side of the coin features a majestic eagle in flight, symbolizing the bold spirit of exploration and strength, but beyond the beautiful design lies a hidden world of rare varieties, minting errors, and collector demand that has turned this simple-looking coin into a modern treasure hunt. Let's start with one of the most exciting stories, the Cheerios Sacagawea dollar. When the U.S. Mint introduced the new dollar coin, they partnered with General Mills and placed 5,500 specially struck Sacagawea dollars into boxes of Cheerios as a promotional campaign. But here's the twist: the coins placed in those boxes weren't ordinary. They featured a unique eagle tail feather design, much more detailed than the regular version. These Cheerios dollars were never supposed to be any different, but collectors quickly noticed the variation, and ever since, they've become one of the most desirable modern coins to collect. But that's just one variety. Some 2000 P Sacagawea dollars were also struck in error, using the wrong planchets, or coin blanks. One incredible example is a Sacagawea dollar that was struck on a Susan B. Anthony dollar planchet, a leftover blank from the previous dollar series. This kind of error is extremely rare and commands high prices on the collector market. There are also other known errors like double die obverse coins, where the lettering shows doubling due to a misalignment during the minting process. If you see doubling in words like Liberty or In God We Trust, your coin might be one of these valuable error coins. Collectors also look for off-center strikes, broad strikes, or coins with unusual coloration or planchet flaws. All of these can turn an average dollar coin into a rare and expensive find. But condition is key. Coins in uncirculated or mint state condition are worth the most. A flawless Sacagawea dollar graded MS67 or higher can already bring a premium, even without errors. What makes the 2000 P Sacagawea dollar so special is that it was the very first of its kind, and first-year coins always carry more attention. Add in rare errors, variants, and promotional issues, and you've got a coin that keeps collectors searching year after year. Now, let's talk about value, real market prices and auction results. A regular 2000 P Sacagawea dollar in circulated condition is generally worth face value, just $1. But a Cheerios Sacagawea dollar with the enhanced tail feather design has sold for as much as $5,000 in mint state. A 2000 P Sacagawea dollar struck on a Susan B. Anthony planchet has reached auction prices of up to $16,800. Even a coin with a minor double die error or in near-perfect condition can be worth hundreds of dollars depending on its grade. So before you spend that golden dollar, take a second look. Check the details, examine the edge, and if anything looks unusual, don't ignore it. You might just be holding a modern rarity in the palm of your hand. Top 2, we're diving into a coin that millions of Americans have used, spent, and passed around without a second thought, the 1971 United States quarter dollar. But what if we told you that some of these coins, which look completely ordinary, might actually be worth way more than just 25 cents? If you're a coin enthusiast, or even just someone with a change jar collecting dust, this is a video you need to watch all the way through, because that one quarter from 1971 could turn out to be a collector's dream. Let's set the scene. The year is 1971. The Vietnam War is still ongoing. Gas is around 40 cents a gallon. And in your pocket? A shiny Washington quarter, freshly minted. Featuring the familiar bust of George Washington on the front and the iconic eagle with outstretched wings on the reverse, it might not seem like anything special, but there's more to this coin than meets the eye. The 1971 quarter was struck at multiple mints, including Philadelphia and Denver. You'll notice that coins from Philadelphia carry no mint mark, while those from Denver are marked with a small d on the obverse. While billions of these coins were produced for circulation, only a very small number have survived in truly pristine condition, and even fewer feature rare and valuable mint errors. One reason this coin has attracted attention in recent years is due to planchet and strike errors that occurred during production. Although 1971 quarters were no longer made of silver, a few rare examples were accidentally struck on leftover silver planchets from previous years. These coins have a different sound, color, and weight, and if you're lucky enough to find one, you're looking at a serious payday. There are also known examples of off-center strikes, where part of the coin's design is missing due to misalignment during the minting process. These are visually striking and highly collectible, especially when the date remains visible. Another error type to watch out for is the double die, where design elements like the lettering or the date appear slightly doubled. These can be subtle, but to collectors, they're gold. Let's not forget broad strikes, which happen when the collar that shapes the edge of the coin fails, allowing the metal to spread out unnaturally. This creates a larger, flatter coin that's very noticeable, and very collectible. And then there's the factor of condition. Coins that went straight into circulation have almost always picked up scratches, dings, and wear over the years. But if you've got a 1971 quarter in mint state condition, meaning it's nearly perfect, uncirculated, and possibly still has its original luster, you're already holding something more valuable than most. Why do collectors love the 1971 quarter? It's a coin that marks the early years of the copper-nickel era, following the end of silver coinage in 1964. It's also from a time when minting technology was improving, but errors still slipped through. For a collector, finding an error coin from 1971 in high grade is like finding a needle in a haystack, and that rarity drives demand and value. So before you toss that old quarter into a vending machine or coin jar, take a closer look. Is the strike off center? Do the letters look doubled? Is the edge missing that typical copper band, hinting at silver content? These clues could be your ticket to owning something truly valuable. Now, let's talk about what these coins are actually selling for. A standard 1971 quarter in circulated condition is usually worth just face value, 25 cents. But a 1971 quarter with a dramatic off-center strike can fetch $50 to $100 or more depending on the extent of the error. A coin with a clear double die error could bring over $200 in the right condition. And if you happen to come across a 1971 quarter mistakenly struck on a silver planchet, it could be worth over $6,000 at auction. Yes, you heard that right. A coin that looks like just another piece of change could be worth thousands if it has the right error or was struck on the wrong metal. So always check your change. That 1971 quarter might just be more than spare change. It could be a rare piece of American history hiding in plain sight. Top 3, we're diving into a coin that most people pass by without a second thought, the 1973 Jefferson nickel from the United States of America. But before you toss that old 5-cent coin back into circulation or let it sit unnoticed in a drawer, you might want to look closer. Because this nickel, minted over 50 years ago, might just be hiding a secret, one that could make it worth much more than its face value. The Jefferson nickel has been a staple of American coinage since 1938. With the familiar portrait of Thomas Jefferson on the obverse and his Monticello home on the reverse, it's one of the most iconic and enduring designs in U.S. coin history. But as with many older coins, it's not just about the design, it's about the details. And the 1973 issue has some details that make it especially interesting to collectors. The 1973 Jefferson nickel was struck at 2 major U.S. mints, Philadelphia and Denver, and you can identify the Denver mint coins by the small d mint mark to the right of Monticello. No mint mark means it came from Philadelphia. While millions of these coins were produced, what makes some of them rare and valuable today are the mint errors and condition, and that's where things get exciting. One of the most sought-after types among collectors is a coin with a full steps designation. On the reverse side of the coin, Monticello's front steps can sometimes appear fully struck and sharply detailed. This happens only when the dies are perfectly aligned and well maintained, which is rare. Most nickels from this era show blurred or incomplete steps due to die wear. A 1973 nickel with full steps is considered premium quality and highly collectible, especially in high mint state, but there's more. Some 1973 Jefferson nickels are known to have striking errors. These include off-center strikes, broad strikes, and double dies, where the coin was struck more than once, leading to visible doubling in the date, letters, or even Jefferson's profile. These kinds of errors don't just make the coin unique, they also make it far more valuable. One particularly exciting error to look for is the clipped planchet. This happens when the blank metal disc used to strike the coin was improperly cut, resulting in a noticeable missing chunk along the edge. Even rarer are coins struck on the wrong planchet, meaning a Jefferson nickel design accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin blank. These are extreme rarities and usually go straight into high-end collections when discovered. Condition is another major factor in value. A well-circulated 1973 nickel may not look like much, but an uncirculated or high-grade example, especially one graded MS66 or MS67, can be surprisingly valuable. Most coins from this era were heavily circulated, and only a small number have survived in pristine condition with sharp details and original luster. So, what should you do if you have a 1973 Jefferson nickel? First, check for that D mint mark, look at the steps on Monticello, and examine the coin under good lighting for any doubling, off-center strikes, or unusual shapes. If it looks perfect or strange in any way, it's time to investigate further. Sometimes, what seems like an ordinary coin could turn out to be an extraordinary discovery. Now, let's get to what everyone wants to know, the value. A typical 1973 Jefferson nickel in circulated condition is worth only its face value, 5 cents. But a 1973 D nickel with full steps in MS66 condition has sold for up to $130. A Philadelphia mint example with full steps and high grade can go for around $90. But if you happen to find a 1973 nickel with a dramatic mint error, like an off-center strike or double die, it can be worth anywhere from $50 to several $100, depending on rarity and condition. The rarest types, such as a clipped planchet or wrong planchet error, have sold at auction for over $1,000. So next time you get a nickel in your change, don't overlook it. That simple coin could be hiding historical value, collector demand, or a rare error that makes it far more than just 5 cents. Always check your coins carefully, because treasure doesn't always shine. Sometimes, it jingles in your pocket. Top 4. We're shining the spotlight on one of America's most beloved and iconic coins, the 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. At first glance, it might seem like just another penny, something you'd find at the bottom of a jar or loose in your pocket. But listen carefully, because this coin holds stories, history, and potential value that can surprise even the most seasoned collectors. If you're curious about why the 1950 wheat penny is so special and want to know what it might be worth today, then this video is for you. The Lincoln wheat penny was minted from 1909 to 1958 and features one of the most enduring designs in U.S. coinage. The obverse shows President Abraham Lincoln's profile, a tribute to his lasting legacy, while the reverse side displays 2 stalks of wheat, symbols of prosperity and growth in America's heartland. The 1950 issue is part of this classic series, but it carries its own unique traits that make collectors sit up and take notice. Let's talk about the rarity first. The 1950 Lincoln wheat penny was struck at 3 different mints: Philadelphia, no mint mark; Denver, D mint mark; and San Francisco, S mint mark. The Philadelphia coins are by far the most common, but the Denver and San Francisco mint versions can be trickier to find, especially in high grades. The S mint mark pennies, in particular, were produced in lower numbers, making them a bit more desirable for collectors who want to complete their sets. But rarity alone isn't what drives collectors wild, it's the condition and, most importantly, the errors. Errors are like nature's way of giving collectors a treasure hunt, and the 1950 wheat penny has a few well-known mistakes that add major value. One popular error is the double die obverse, where the date, letters, or even parts of Lincoln's profile appear double due to a misalignment during the minting process. If you spot extra thickness or doubling on the numbers, 1950, or on the words, Liberty, and, In God We Trust, you could have a very valuable coin. These double dies are highly prized, especially when found in sharp, uncirculated condition. Another interesting and rare error to watch for is the repunched mint mark, commonly abbreviated as RPM. This happens when the mint mark letter, like the D or S, is stamped more than once, creating a shadowed or doubled look. For 1950 pennies, repunched mint marks from the Denver or San Francisco mints can significantly increase the coin's value. Since these errors were caught early and only a handful slipped through into circulation, there are also off-center strikes and broad strike errors, where the coin is struck unevenly or without the usual edge collar, causing distorted or larger than normal coins. These errors aren't just fascinating to look at, they're also sought after by collectors, especially when they're from a coin as historically important as the 1950 wheat penny, and of course, condition matters immensely. A worn 1950 penny, with scratches and nicks, is worth pennies, literally. But if you find one in mint state condition, with sharp details, original luster, and no damage, collectors will pay a premium for it. Coins graded MS65 or higher by professional grading services can command surprisingly high prices. So, what does all this add up to in terms of value? A regular 1950 Lincoln wheat penny in circulated condition is generally worth about 5 to 10 cents, not much, right? But if you have a 1950 D or 1950 S in uncirculated condition, the value can jump to several dollars, sometimes between $5 and $20, depending on the grade. Now, if you own a 1950 double die obverse penny, values can skyrocket. High-grade examples of this error have sold for anywhere between $100 to over $500 at auction. Similarly, a 1950 repunched mint mark penny can fetch several $100s, especially in pristine condition. Rare off-center strikes and broad strike error coins from 1950 have sold for prices ranging from a few hundred to over $1,000, depending on the severity of the error and the coin's condition. So the moral of the story? Don't overlook the humble 1950 Lincoln wheat penny. It's more than just a piece of copper, it's a piece of American history, and it might just be a hidden gem in your coin collection or pocket change. Top 5, and last unique coin. We're exploring a coin you've probably seen thousands of times but might not realize holds some fascinating secrets, the 1990 Roosevelt dime. At first glance, it seems like an everyday coin, the kind you get back in change without a second thought. But if you're a coin collector, or even just someone curious about rare finds, you'll want to listen closely. This particular dime from 1990 has qualities that make it intriguing to collectors and could even be worth more than its face value. The Roosevelt dime has been a staple of American currency since 1946, honoring President Franklin D. Roosevelt for his leadership and dedication, especially during challenging times. The 1990 dime features Roosevelt's familiar profile on the obverse, with the torch, olive branch, and oak branch symbolizing liberty, peace, and strength on the reverse. While the design might not have changed dramatically since its inception, the story behind some coins minted in 1990 is quite interesting. First, let's talk about the rarity. Unlike earlier decades, the 1990 dime was produced in very high numbers at both the Philadelphia, no mint mark, and Denver, D mint mark, mints. The Philadelphia Mint produced billions of these dimes that year, while the Denver Mint made hundreds of millions. So, on the surface, it might seem like a dime you can find anywhere, and in most cases, that's true. However, rarity and value for coins like the 1990 Roosevelt dime don't usually come from low mintage numbers but from unique minting errors and exceptional condition. And these errors are what coin collectors absolutely love. One of the most sought-after varieties among 1990 Roosevelt dimes is the double die error. This happens when the coin's design is struck more than once with a slight misalignment, causing doubling effects on the date, lettering, or other details. You might notice this as a shadowy or thickened appearance around the numbers in the date or around the inscriptions, Liberty or In God We Trust. Such doubling isn't just a cool visual quirk, it can add significant value to your dime if the effect is clear and sharp. Another fascinating error to watch for is the off-center strike. Sometimes, during the minting process, the coin blank isn't perfectly aligned, resulting in part of the design missing or appearing cut off. These off-center dimes are rare and can be quite valuable, especially if the date is still visible and the off-center strike is substantial. Additionally, broad strike errors can appear, where the coin is struck without the usual edge collar, causing the metal to spread out, creating a larger and thinner coin with a smooth edge rather than the typical reeded one. These broad strike dimes are striking to look at and highly prized by collectors who chase minting errors. The condition of the coin is another huge factor. Since the 1990 dime was minted in large numbers and intended for circulation, many are worn and show signs of heavy use. But if you have a 1990 dime that looks uncirculated, sharp details, no scratches, and with its original luster, it could be worth a lot more than you think. Coins graded MS65 or higher by professional grading companies can command a premium. For collectors, even small differences can mean big bucks. Coins with proof-like finishes or those that are part of special mint sets can also fetch more than the typical circulated dime. So, what does all this mean for your 1990 Roosevelt dime in terms of value? A regular, circulated 1990 dime is usually worth just face value, 10 cents. But if you own a 1990 dime with a clear double die error, it can be worth between $50 to several $100 depending on the sharpness and visibility of the doubling and the coin's overall condition. Off-center strike examples generally sell for anywhere from $100 to $500, with larger off-centers being more valuable. Broad strike errors from this year have also fetched prices ranging from a few $100s to over $1,000, especially if the coin is well preserved. Uncirculated coins graded MS65 or higher can be worth $10 to $20 or more, and proof versions from the 1990 mint sets typically sell for a similar range, depending on grade and condition. So next time you get a dime back in change, especially one from 1990, take a closer look. You might be holding more than just a small coin. You could be holding a piece of minting history and a potential treasure. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the 1990 Roosevelt dime and want to learn more about rare coins and their fascinating stories, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future videos. Thanks for watching, and happy collecting. May your coins always surprise you with their hidden value.